Welcome back, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. Today, I'm going to be designing a popsicle. As you can see, this is pretty simple and probably shouldn't take me too long. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this one. So, I'm going to start by drawing some simple rectangles. And this is a rectangle with a stroke of 8 pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and round the corners by grabbing the direct selection tool, selecting the top two corners, and pulling down all the way on these levers. I'm going to also draw another set of rectangles inside of this shape by pressing R on the keyboard, or M on the keyboard, and just kind of estimating the size of this thing. And I'm going to align it all the way to the left and count out some units that I'm going to space it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. An even 100 pixels from the left. So I'm going to do the same exact thing for this one. So I'm pressing Option on the keyboard and I'm dragging this shape to duplicate it. And now I'm going to shift it 100 pixels left. Cool. So I'm going to space it out a little more. Just like that. And I'm going to round the corners on both of these shapes by selecting them, pressing A on the keyboard, and it doesn't matter which set I decide to pull it since both of them are selected. They'll both round at the same time, so I'm going to go ahead and get that nice and round. And I'm going to draw one more rectangle below for the stick. And I'm going to quickly draw or insert a guide for the center of the popsicle. And I'm going to view outline mode real quick by pressing Command Y. And I'm going to make sure I'm all lined up. And I'm going to draw another rectangle. I'm going to resize this after, but just making sure that it's nice and centered. So now I can come in and resize it a little bit to match my sketch. So now I want to just select these bottom 2 points, pressing A on the keyboard and rounding these corners. And there we have it. We have our basic popsicle shape. Now I want to also round these bottom 2 corners a little bit, so I'm going to press A on the keyboard and select both of these edges, and I'm going to come up here to the corners panel, and I'm going to kind of just eyeball this a little bit, and we'll make it a nice 50 pixel, 40 pixel radius. So there we have it. That is all we have to do for the lines here. So now I want to add some color to this popsicle. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to select this larger outer shape and the stem of the stick. I'm going to press Command C to copy. And I'm going to jump down here to my colors layer and press Command F to paste input in the front. So now I basically just have a stroke, 2 strokes shapes directly below the lines. So I'm going to change the stroke to a fill. and I'm going to change the fill color of the main popsicle shape to something. I'll make it nice and red. The red flavors were always the best from what I can remember, so let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to make the stick orange, or a brownish orange, maybe like that. Cool. So that takes care of our coloring, and now it's time to add some shading. So I'm going to come up here to my lines layer, and I'm going to select these two shapes, and I'm going to paste in place on my shading layer, and I'm going to change the stroke to a fill, and I'm going to go ahead and take the transparency down on these two shapes to about 35. I'm going to now select both of these shapes again and press Command C and Command F to paste in place. And I'm just going to change the color real quick just to get some difference. Now I'm going to do this once more. Command C, Command F. Now I'm going to change this color again, and pressing down on the down arrow, I'm going to hold Shift and press down about 40 pixels, 30, that looks about right, maybe 35. So I want there to be a little bit of depth right here, so I want to only keep this tiny blue sliver. So to do that, I'm going to have both of these two purple shapes selected, and I'm going to also hold Shift and select these blue ones behind the purple. And I'm going to come over here to the Pathfinder tool, and I'm going to click this option. So this is the divide option. So basically what that does is it cuts all these shapes into individual shapes. So these are all different now, but when I click on them, they're all selected and move as one. So I need to come up here to Object and Ungroup, which you can also do Command Shift G on the keyboard. And I'm going to just remove the purple shapes. So now that I have my, I'm going to remove these as well. So now I have some depth in there, and I'm going to change the color to this maroon and make the opacity about 50. That looks okay. Cool. So now I kind of want to add a little bit of shading around the edges of the popsicle. So I'm going to use the same exact technique I just did, but I'm going to do it for this larger shape. So I'm just selecting this color layer. I copied it, and I'm going to paste in place on the shading. And I'm going to change the fill. We'll do the same colors, and I'm going to duplicate again. Command C, Command F. And I'm going to shift this over a little bit, something like that. So again, I only want to have this blue piece left over because it'll give some nice shading. So I'm going to select both the blue and the purple shapes. Come over here to Pathfinder and divide. So again, what this does is it combines, it grouped the shapes, so I need to ungroup that. I'm going to press Command Shift G on the keyboard, and I'm going to remove all the purple. Sweet. So now I'm going to make this the same color as the shading here. So I grab the eyedropper tool, and I'm just going to click over here, and we have the same exact color and the same exact transparency. So I'm going to cycle back just a tiny bit. This this shape right here, this could also be used. You could also bring it in right here, and you have some shading on either side. Make this a darker, and maybe this can be a lighter shade, and take the transparency down. That looks really good as well. But I'm gonna do something a little different. I'm gonna make kind of like a hard stroke around the edge here. So I want to come up here to my lines layer and select this outer shape and copy it. Come up here to the shading and paste it in place. And I'm going to change the stroke color to white. And I'm going to come up here to Object, Path, Offset Path. And I'm going to bring this shape in quite a bit. So I'm going to bring it in about 15 pixels. I think that looks alright. And now I kind of want to just break this line up a little bit and have it not a full line, but just kind of like a broken line that goes along the right edge. So I'm going to grab the scissor tool, which is also C on the keyboard, and I'm just going to start clicking along this path. And what this is doing is it's breaking up the line. And I'm just going to kind of randomly do this. Okay, so you can't tell now, but I've broken up this shape or this path quite a bit. So now I can select each part of this path and just get rid of things. So let's see where it's broken here. Broken there. Cool. And I'm gonna round the edges of these paths. So I'm going to come over here to stroke options and select it to be a rounded cap. Alright. Cool. It's coming along pretty nicely. So now I kind of want to have the same effect, but I want to add some broken lines inside of these little grooves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same exact technique. I'm going to select both of these lines from my lines layer, copy it, Command F, come down here to my shading layer and Command F. Sorry if I Command C, Command F. Okay, so I'm going to bring the stroke. I want the stroke to be a little thinner, so I'm going to make it about 4. And make sure that they're both selected, and same exact thing, Object, Path, Offset Path. And I'm going to leave it at that. So it looks like this one didn't quite work as well, so no problem. All I need to do is grab the eyedropper tool and just click on the one that worked, and there we go. So I'm gonna grab the scissor tool once more and just start clicking along this line to break it up. There's really no method to this. I'm kind of just eyeballing. just what I think is going to look the best. Cool. So I'm going to remove parts of the line that I don't want. And I'm going to make sure that these are rounded. Alright, and I'm going to do the same thing for this other side. So again, scissor tool, C on the keyboard, and just start clicking. Okay, and now I can come in here and remove parts that I don't want. And now I'm going to round it. Alright, so just a few more things to do here. I'm going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom, the top of the stick. And I just did that by drawing a rectangle and with the eyedropper tool, clicking on this shade fill right here to grab its styles, but I think this might be a little too dark. I'm gonna bring the transparency down a bit. And now I kind of want to draw some lines on the stick just to show like a little bit of a wooden texture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the pencil tool, that's N on the keyboard, and I'm just going to draw random squigglies. I'm going to make sure that this has a stroke of 4. And no need to worry if the squigglies don't look so squiggly. We can always come in and fix that. So I'm just going to get all of them drawn first. There we go. So these look pretty bad, and I can easily come in and fix these by using the smooth tool, which is underneath this pencil tool. So if you just click and hold on it, you'll get this option, the secondary options, and the smooth tool. This is a big time tool right here. I use it a lot in my line work. So I'm gonna select this point and kind of bring it up a little bit. It was a little flat. There we go. And I'm really not too worried about these being perfect. I'm going to be turning the opacity down quite a bit on them. They're just kind of a little subtle effect. Alright. And I'll edit this one a little bit. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to select all of these, and I want to round the caps of the strokes, and I want to turn the opacity down just a little bit. So I'm going to come over to transparency and just lower the transparency to around 30%. We'll go 25. So there we have it. We have a popsicle. And all we need to do now is add a background color. My artboard is 1080 pixels by 1080 pixels, and I did this just by pressing M on the keyboard and just clicking. I'll do that again. So I hit M, which is the rectangle tool, and I just click anywhere on the artboard, and I can manually enter a value now, so that makes it nice. And I'm going to align this shape to the left edge of the artboard and to the very top edge. And I'm going to change the stroke to a fill and make the fill color purple. And that's basically it. I kind of want to add another effect to this just for fun. I'm going to give a thick outer white border. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up to my lines layer and press Command A to select everything on the artboard and Command C to copy it. And I'm going to create a new layer down here, and I'm going to name this layer outer stroke. And I don't know why I have a yellow layer color. I'm going to change that just because I don't like the yellow layers. And I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to press Command F on the keyboard to paste in place. And now I have all my lines, but I want to make one big shape from all these different shapes. So I'm going to come up here to Object, Expand to expand the strokes. And next I'm going to come over here to Pathfinder and I'm going to merge. And now I'm going to give them all the same exact color value by just clicking any color. And I'm going to come up to this Pathfinder option. I think you could use either of these in tandem. But basically what I have now is I just have one shape. And I can make this into a stroke pretty easily. So I'm going to get rid of the fill and make the stroke white. First I'm going to give it a stroke of white, and now I'm just going to make it something pretty thick. So I'll leave it at that. Kind of gives it a little sticker effect. And that's it. That's a popsicle. Feel free to leave me any questions in the comments. Also, feel free to send me a direct message on Instagram @PastaNick. I respond to everything. So please let me know your questions, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you, and goodbye.